Hello, I'm Fungjin and friends. We're from group in 5 and we're gonna presentations about PSAK 46 about income tax. So before we started to presentations, let we introduce ourselves first. My name is Anissa Zahrania with student ID 2024 50381 with my partner.
My name is Angelica Advencia Michelle Arianto with student ID 2024-50298, absent 10.
So I will explain the introductions of PSAK 46 about income taxes. So to kick things off, let's look at a fundamental reality in the business world. When companies run their daily operations, they are required to prepare financial statement in accordance with SAK or Financial Accounting Standard. The primary goal is to provide fair, transparent view of economic performance to external parties like our investors or creditors. So, however, at the same time, when we file our taxes, we must comply with applicable tax laws. Why do two sets of rules often clash? Because their objectives are fundamentally different. Commercial accounting measures economic reality, while taxation aims to optimize government revenue. This difference in objective means that our report commercial profit is almost never the same as our taxable profit. This is exactly where PSAK 46 comes in. It serves as our official guideline to help us record, present, and disclose these tax consequences clearly and transparently in our financial reports. And for the next slide, we break this difference into two types. The first one is permanent and the second one is temporary. For the permanent difference, expenses or revenues recognized by accounting but never allowed by tax rules. They don't reverse. For example, like tax penalties, non-deductible entertainment expense, or interest subject to final tax. And for the temporary difference, the difference in the timing of revenues or expense recognitions, or they will reverse in the future periods. For example, different depreciation methods or bad debts provisions. And now let's define about the current tax. So the current tax is the actual amount of income tax that we are legally obligated to pay or receive as refund based on our taxable profit for the current fiscal period. So for the formula is very straightforward. The formula is current tax, taxable profit multiplied by the applicable tax rate. So where does this number go in our financial statement? On the income statement, this amount is reported directly as our current tax expense. On the balance sheet, it is recorded as a tax liability under the Income Tax Article 29. However, we don't pay the full current tax amount at the end of the year at all once. First, we reduce this liability by any prepaid tax or tax credits we have accumulated throughout the year, such as monthly installment under the Article 25 or withholding taxes from third parties under Articles 22 and 23. To make these concepts concrete, let's apply them to a real-world case study. And now we move to the next slide, which is talking about the study case for PT Sejahtera Utama for the fiscal year 2025. So here's the financial data we are working with. So first, our commercial net profits before tax is 1 billion rupiah. We have a tax penalty of 20 million rupiah, which is positive permanent difference because tax laws do not allow us to deduct penalties. And we have non-deductible entertainment expense for 30 million rupiah, which is also a positive permanent difference. And we earn deposit interest income of 50 million rupiah, which is a negative permanent difference since deposit interest is already subject to a final tax. And next, we have a depreciation difference of 30 million rupiah, where our fiscal depreciation is higher than our commercial depreciations. This is a negative temporary difference. And throughout the year, we have already prepaid tax or accumulated tax credits worth 150 million rupiah. And finally, the applicable corporate tax is 22%. And then here for the table for the PT Sejahtera Utama, and for the taxable profit, the amount is 917 million rupiah. And then I'm going to explain about the current tax calculations. So first, let's look at the current tax expense. We calculate this by multiplying our taxable income, which is 970 million, with the corporation tax rate of 22%, and the total was 213,400,000. Next, to find our taxable payable, we deduct our prepaid tax of 150 million from the tax expense we just calculated. So 230,400,000 minus the 150 million. The total was 63,400,000. And for the journal entry, we debit our current tax expense for 230,400,000 Indonesian rupiah, and then credit the prepaid tax for 150 million Indonesian rupiah, and then finally we credit our tax payable of 63,400,000 Indonesian rupiah. This ensures that our tax liabilities and prepayments are fully balanced and accurately reported. Next, we'll explain with my friends Michelle.
So now my teammate has just explained the foundation of this topic and including the background of PSAK 46, the differences between commercial and fiscal accounting, current tax, and the first part of the case study. Before I continue, I would like to mention one important update. So, PSAK 46 on income taxes has now been renumbered as PSAK 212 income taxes. However, the main substance of the standard is still about how entities recognize, measure, present, and disclosure income taxes, including current tax and deferred tax. Now, I will continue with the second part of our presentation. In this section, I will explain deferred tax, how it is presented in the financial statements, and how we calculate and record deferred tax in our case study of PT Maju Sejahtera. So let's begin. So, what is deferred tax? In simple terms, deferred tax is the future tax consequence of temporary difference between the accounting treatment and the tax treatment. In financial accounting, an asset or liability has a carrying amount. Meanwhile, for tax purposes, the same asset or liability has a tax base. When the carrying amount and the tax base are different, a temporary difference occurs. Now, these differences does not disappear immediately. Instead, it will be reversed in future periods. That is why PSAK 46, or now is called as PSAK 212, requires companies to recognize the deferred tax. Deferred tax is calculated using the formula temporary difference multiplied by the applicable tax rate. There are two types of deferred tax. The first one is deferred tax asset, or DTA, which represents a future tax benefit, and the second is deferred tax liability, or DTL, which represent a future tax obligation. A deferred tax asset, or DTA, represents a future tax benefit. It usually arises when an expense has already been recognized in the accounting records, but it is not yet deductible for tax purposes in the current period. In other words, the company pays higher tax today because the tax deduction is postponed. However, in the future, when the deduction is allowed, the company may pay lower tax. A common example is warranty provision. In accounting, a company may recognize warranty expense when the sale occurs, because accountings follow the accrual basis and matching principle, right? However, for the tax purposes, the expense may only be deductible when the warranty cost is actually paid or realized. This creates a deductible temporary difference, which will lead to the deferred tax asset. However, PSAK 46 also gives an important conditions. A deferred tax asset can only be recognized when it is probable that the company will have sufficient taxable profit in the future to use the tax benefit. Now, the opposite of deferred tax asset is deferred tax liability, or we often call it in short as DTL. A deferred tax liability represents a future tax obligation. It arises from the taxable temporary differences, meaning that the company will have higher taxable income in the future when the differences reverses. A common example is depreciation. In commercial accounting, a company may use one depreciation method like straight line or double declining, while tax regulation may allow a different method. Now, in our case study, fiscal depreciation is higher than the commercial depreciation. This means that the company gets a bigger tax deduction now, so it pays lower tax in the current period. However, in the future, this tax benefit will reverse, and the company may pay higher tax. That future tax obligation is recognized as the deferred tax liability. So the key idea is, if a temporary difference will increase taxable income in the future, then it's create a DTL. Next, let us discuss how deferred tax is presented in the financial statement, starting with the statement of financial position. Deferred tax asset and deferred tax liabilities are presented as non-current asset or non-current liabilities. They are not classified as current items because their tax effects relate to future periods. PSAK 46 also provides an offsetting rule. A company may offset deferred tax asset and deferred tax liabilities only if certain conditions are met. The first one is the company must have a legally enforceable right to offset current tax assets and current tax liabilities. Second, the deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability must relate to income taxes levied by the same tax authority and on the same taxable entity. If these two conditions are met, the company may present only one net amount, either net deferred tax asset or net deferred tax liability. And in our case study, both deferred tax items arise from the same company and the same tax authority, so they can be presented on a net basis. Now let us look at the income statement or profit or loss. Income tax expense in the income statement consists of two components. The first component is current tax expense. This is the tax based on taxable income for the current period. The second component is deferred tax expense or deferred tax benefit. This comes from changes in deferred tax assets and deferred tax liabilities during the period. If a deferred tax liability increase, the company recognizes deferred tax expense. Why? Because this means that the company is recognizing more future tax obligation. And if a deferred tax asset increase, the company recognizes deferred tax benefit. This is because the company is recognizing more future tax savings. Therefore, total income tax expense is calculated at current tax expense plus or minus deferred tax expense or benefit. PSAK 46 also requires disclosures such as tax reconciliation, explanations of changes in DTA or DTL, and information about unrecognized deferred tax asset. Now let us apply the concept to the case study of PT Maju Sejahtera. From the first part of the case study, the company has commercial pre-tax income of 600 million. There is also a permanent difference of 30 million, which is treated as a deduction in this case. So it reduces the taxable income. Then we have two temporary differences. The first temporary difference is warranty provision of 30 million. This expense has been recognized in accounting, but it is not yet deductible for tax purposes. Therefore, in the fiscal reconciliation, we add it back. This creates a deductible temporary difference, which leads to a deferred tax asset. The second temporary difference is excess fiscal depreciation over commercial depreciation of 50 million. Fiscal depreciation is higher than commercial depreciation, so the company gets a larger tax deduction now. Therefore, this is deducted in the fiscal reconciliation, and this also creates a taxable temporary difference, which leads to a deferred tax liability. After this adjustment, taxable income becomes 550 million, and using the corporate tax rate of 22%, the current tax expense is 121 million. Now we calculate the deferred tax. Step 1 is calculating the deferred tax liability. The taxable temporary difference from depreciation is 50 million, and then we multiply it by the tax rate of 22%, so the deferred tax liability is 11 million. Step 2 is calculating the deferred tax asset. The deductible temporary difference from warranty provisions is 30 million. We multiply with the same tax rate of 22%, so the deferred tax asset is 6,600,000. Step 3 is calculating the net deferred tax expense. The deferred tax liability is 11 million, while the deferred tax asset is 6,600,000. So the difference is 4,400,000. Because the liability is greater than the asset, the result is a net deferred tax expense of 4,400,000. Step 4 is calculating total income tax expense. Current tax expense is 121 million and deferred tax expense is 4,400,000. So the total income tax expense is 125,400,000. After calculating current tax and deferred tax, we record the journal entries, of course. The first journal entry is for current tax. We debit income tax expense for 121 million and we credit tax payable for the same amount. This entry records the tax payable for the current year. The second journal entry is for deferred tax. We debit deferred tax asset for 6,600,000 because the warranty provisions creates a future tax benefit. We also debit income tax expense deferred for 4,400,000 because the net effect of deferred tax is an expense. Then we credit deferred tax liability for 11 million because the depreciation difference creates a future tax obligation. The journal balance because 6,600,000 plus 4,400,000 equals to 11 million. In the income statement, the current tax expense is 121 million plus the deferred tax expense of 4,400,000 results in total tax expense of 125,400,000. Now, let us see how these amounts appear in the financial statements after recording. In the statement of financial position, PT Maju Sejahtera recognized a deferred tax asset of 6,600,000 and a deferred tax liability of 11 million. Because both items relate to the same taxable entity and the same tax authority, they may be offset. After offsetting, the company presents a net deferred tax liability of 4,400,000 in the non-current liabilities section. In the income statement, the company reports income before tax 600 million. Then total income tax expense is 125,400,000. Therefore, net income is 474,600,000. And this is showing how both the current tax obligation and the future tax consequences of temporary differences. To summarize this section, there are several key takeaways from PSAK 46 or PSAK 212. First, PSAK 46 bridges two worlds, accounting profit and taxable income. These two amounts are not always the same because accounting rules and tax rules may treat transactions differently. Second, income tax expense consists of two components, current tax and deferred tax. Current tax relates to the tax payable for the current period, while deferred tax relates to future tax consequences. Third, deferred tax is not optional. Taxable temporary differences must be recognized as deferred tax liabilities. Meanwhile, deductible temporary differences are recognized as deferred tax assets when future taxable profit is probable. Fourth is presentation matters. Deferred tax asset and deferred tax liabilities are presented as non-current items. This may be offset only when the offsetting requirements are met. Finally, deferred tax is important because ignoring it may misrepresent a company's tax burden and future tax obligation, and this can affect how users understand and companies' net income, future cash flows usage. This brings us to the end of our presentation. To conclude, PSAK 46, or now renumbered as PSAK 212, helps companies present income tax more fairly and completely. It ensures that financial statements do not only show the tax payable today, but also the tax consequences that may occur in the future. Through the case study of PT Maju Sejahtera, we can see how temporary difference create deferred tax asset and deferred tax liabilities, how they are calculated, how they are recorded, and how they are presented in the financial statements. So, I think that's all from us. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this presentation can be useful for your knowledge. See you next time. Bye-bye.